5. Along with the introduction of one rate, let each deduction be entered in the box with a fine, indicating why it was made. Then we will see the wrong fine, less will be lost as a gift of our labor, and the number of such outrages that are currently happening, for example, in the dyeing shop, where the workers produced less through the fault of the inept craftsman, which by law cannot be the reason for non-payment of labor, will decrease, since the negligence of the worker has nothing to do with it. And how many deductions of all of which we are not at all to blame? 6. We demand that we take as much from the apartment as we took before 1891, i.e. 1p per person per month, because it's not good to pay 2 rubles for our earnings, and for what? For this dirty, smelly, cramped and fire-dangerous kennel. Do not forget, comrades, that in all St. Petersburg there is a payment of 1 hour per month is considered sufficient. Only our caring owners alone are not satisfied with it, and we must force them to stop their greed here too. Defending our demands, comrades, we are not at all rebelling, we only demand that they give us what all the workers of other factories are already using under the law, which they have robbed of us, hoping only for our inability to defend our own rights. Let us prove this time that our benefactors were mistaken. The so-called revolt of cigarettes at Lafram took place on November 10. The unrest took place in August. The machines just entered greatly increased the number of rejects, and rejections were carried out with all sorts of shame and nitpicking. And often defective cigarettes were sold for the first grade. Deprived of their patients by excessive fines, rejection, low pay and rough treatment, the workers decided to go on strike. The strike went wild, the glass broke, the frames broke out, tissue paper, tobacco, pieces of furniture flew into the street. They demanded the destruction of fines and dishonest marriage. As a result, gendarmes, police, fire pipes, flat tricks of the mayor of Val, arrests, this is on the one hand. On the other hand, a factory inspection circular. Shortly after this, a 3-day strike took place at the TVA mechanical shoe production factory, accompanied by concessions to the administration. The leaflets, and then the concessions, had some kind of magical effect on the workers. Energy was rising, there was a belief in the ability to fight, a belief in the power of mass attack and in the power of unity. The matter of uniting workers from different regions of St. Petersburg and creating a common organization moved forward. The mood among the organized workers was the most cheerful. Finally, a means was found to use their strength, development, and knowledge accumulated during the purely circle life. But on the night of December 9 and 10, 1894, in Petersburg large arrests were made. It was a real rout of social democratic organizations. About 80 people were arrested. The group of old Social Democrats lost its leaders and many of its most active members. The newspaper, which the group was preparing to publish, was captured and completely ready for publication. One of the work cause, a group of young people, was completely defeated. The gendarmes were jubilant. The largest figures of the Social Democrats were in their hands. Among the workers the most prominent were arrested, V.A. Shulganov, I.V. Babushkin and others. The gendarmes were jubilant, social democratic organizations were liquidated. However, the gendarmes were somewhat mistaken, and far from all the leaders of the social democratic movement were withdrawn from circulation. Surviving the arrests, members of the group of old Social Democrats hastened to reassure the gendarmes of their complete success and show that the main culprits were at large and continue to act as before. For this purpose, the remaining members of the said group gathered and decided to immediately issue a new appeal and to distribute it among the workers. The only question was, on whose behalf to issue this appeal. Various proposals were made on this occasion. One of the participants, it seems, M.A. Sylvan, suggested to his surviving comrades to be called the Union of Struggle for the Emancipation of the Working Class. To others, this name did not seem particularly suitable due to its length. But there was no time to come up with more suitable names. It was necessary to issue an appeal as soon as possible, which was to show that the organization continues to exist and continue to operate, despite numerous arrests. Therefore, the just mentioned name was immediately adopted, which was fully consistent with the goals of the organization. Thus, from the remnants of the group of old Social Democrats, after the arrest of its most prominent members, including V.A. Ulyanov, the Union of Struggle for the Liberation of the Working Class arose. Here is the proclamation by which the Union officially declared December 15, 1895. About your existence. From the Union of Struggle for the Emancipation of the Working Class. Comrades and workers. The recent strikes have led to the unusual embarrassment of our host capitalists. They saw with horror that the Petersburg workers were beginning to fight against unbearable oppression. Under the influence of fear, the Lafargue and Thornton partnerships tried, with some concessions, to calm the out-of-work workers. At the sight of the unrest caused by the leaflets at the Butilov factory, the factory administration hastened to reduce the announced penalties. The factory inspection itself began to take a more careful look at its duties, and the other day in a special circular the factory inspector recognized the illegality of the rejections against which the craftsmen of the Lafargue factory rose. But, yielding where it was dangerous not to give in, the capitalists turned to the government for help against the workers who dared to move. True to their duty to protect the interests of the rich, the authorities ardently set to work in order to save the city for the future. Thornton's from unpleasant concessions to hated workers. How to make sure that there are no such strikes in future? According to the gendarmes, strikes and riots are not caused by poverty and the suffering of those whose labor the whole society lives on. According to them, all this is the matter of instigators, restless people. Why would it be? Who, if not instigators, disseminated each new press those appeals from which the capitalists stand on end with hair? And so, in order to root out evil at once, on the night of December 8th to 9th, gendarmes raided all parts of the city. Dozens of suspected people were thrown into prisons, factories inundated with spies. The order has been settled, there will be no more strikes, the sheaves will disappear, the capitalists think, while their police friends lick their lips at the thought of the upcoming holiday reward for wild zeal. Now, after the arrests of Mr. Thornton's, they throw several before the holidays dozens of weavers among strikers, taking out their forced pliability on them. The new mayor kindly offers them only help a gift ticket to their homeland, to the starving village. Money purse and police uniform do not know pity. Any strikes do not stop. There is talk of new unrest on Lafargue factory about the strike at the Lebedev sawmill and at the Samsonevsky manufactory. And the leaflets appear as before, are read and are met with sympathy everywhere, and the Union of the Struggle for the Liberation of the Working Class, which distributes them, remains unscathed and will continue its work. The police made a mistake in the address. Arrests and deportations will not suppress the labor movement, strikes and struggle will not stop until it is achieved, the complete liberation of the working class from the yoke of capital. Comrades, let's continue to defend our interests together. Strikes and struggle will not stop until it is achieved, the complete liberation of the working class from the yoke of capital. Comrades, let's continue to defend our interests together. Strikes and struggle will not stop until it is achieved, the complete liberation of the working class from the yoke of capital. Comrades, let's continue to defend our interests together. After 3 to 4 days, the union issued a large leaflet to all St. Petersburg workers which outlined the events of recent months and indicated how capitalists, factory inspectors, the town governor and the police generally behave with respect to workers.